All right, let's get started. So thanks everyone for joining our retail webinar. A few housekeeping items before we get started. We will be answering any questions you might have at the end of the webinar, so feel free to pop them as you think of them into the chat box. And also, we will be sending out this recording of the webinar early next week, so if anybody missed it or you want to send it to someone on your team, feel free. All right, let's get started. So quick intros, I'm Marissa. I am on Apptentive's marketing team. I've been here for over 2 years now, and I have learned more than I ever thought that I would know about mobile apps.
Hi everyone, I'm James, and I lead the mobile product team at JCP. I've been here going on 3 years, and I've enjoyed being a part of our digital transformation.
Cool. So quick intro of Apptentive before we really dig in. So we are an in-app communication tool. We power the last mile of the customer interaction, which is the conversation. And there's a lot of push marketing out there, not so much pull marketing. So we really focus on the pull, and we think that the customer conversation is key. So we've been doing this for 6 years now, and we have remained committed to our purpose, which is helping the world's biggest brands listen to their customers. Oops. Okay. So that's James and I. So today we're going to share the data about how customers use mobile to shop for the holidays, how iOS 11 can be used to your advantage, and most importantly, how you can get your app ready for the holiday shopping season. So I will hand it off to James.
So mobile as a channel is growing in importance for the retail industry. Nearly all smartphone users are using shopping apps. And most of those who do use them very frequently. Consumers use shopping apps to browse and to buy. And 1/4 of purchases by those who use retail apps are made on mobile. That's a significant percentage that's only going to continue to rise as more people have access to smartphones and get more comfortable making purchases on their device. According to Forrester, the 5 most important features a shopping app should have are access to mobile coupons, high-quality product images that are high-res and give the customer an accurate representation of what an item looks like in real life. Product reviews. According to Forrester, the 5 most important features a shopping app should have are reviews. Whether customers are shopping online or in store, access to product reviews in the app is crucial. 70% of customers who use the app while they're shopping in store are using it to look up reviews. Customers want to know how the product has worked out for other people, and if they can't see reviews in your app, they're likely to go elsewhere for them, which I must point out is a double loss. Not only is it lost time in your app, it creates a frustrating experience for the customer. The easier you can make their life, the better off they're going to be for you. The 4th one is product search, a search function that actually works. We will touch on this in more detail later, but search is extremely important. It may seem obvious, but not everyone has invested the resources into building a search that works, which again creates an extremely frustrating experience for the customer. And again, they will go searching elsewhere outside of your app. And the 5th and final one is access to loyalty points. This goes back to making customers' lives as easily as possible by streamlining their experience and giving them access to information they need easily and quickly. 69% of customers who use shopping apps while they're in the store are using it to look up loyalty, information, and rewards data. In addition to access to these features, Forrester found that consumers use retail apps because they're faster than the mobile site. It offers a better customer experience overall, and they get access to app-exclusive coupons and rewards. One of the biggest reasons why customers don't use apps is for security reasons. And that's not surprising considering everything that's going on in the world of data breaches nowadays. To ease your customers' minds, make sure they know you're committed to not only a good experience, but to their privacy and security too. Now that we know how consumers are using shopping apps, let's talk about the impact of iOS 11 with Marissa.
All right, iOS 11. So Apple just launched it on September 19th, and here is what you need to know. So there are two main changes with iOS 11. First, third-party ratings prompts are not permitted in apps built on iOS 11. So Apple wants publishers to use the provided API for requesting reviews, and they'll reject apps built on iOS 11 that are using custom review prompts. And second, you will now have a choice to reset your ratings between app versions. So similar to the Google Play Store, an app's ratings won't reset with each new version. Instead, it will reflect the overall rating. So you will have the ability to reset the app's rating at your discretion. And these changes, of course, come in addition to the changes that came with 10.3. So app publishers can now present Apple's rating prompt only 3 times per year. So this emphasizes the importance of finding the right time and the right place to engage with customers. So we'll talk a little bit more about this later. So now that you can only ask for a rating 3 times per year, it's imperative that you identify evangelists and determine when to activate them, and then measure all interactions with your customers. So early results that we've seen. So obviously the new rating prompt is simple and it's contextually convenient for customers. And because of that, there's been a massive increase in both the volume of app ratings and the quality of the customer experience. So we found that since launching the Apple rating prompt, apps see a 20% median increase in their all-time total ratings. That's huge. And that's coming as a result of a 10 to 15 times increase in efficacy based on what we've historically seen with ratings prompts. And these early results demonstrate that people are much more likely to rate an app as a result of having a better in-app experience. Also, Apple has introduced the controls that allow consumers to disable ratings prompts, and that is a welcome addition for people. And we know this because we found that 1 in 5 consumers are either opting out of the ratings dialog or not seeing a dialog due to Apple's internal logic. So we see this as a positive because now people who don't want to be shown ratings prompts have the option to opt themselves out. And this lowers the risk that companies will annoy customers by showing them unwanted prompts. So why does the increase in star ratings matter? So it matters for several reasons. First, customers are unlikely to download an app even if you have a 3-star app. As you can see on the screen, the impact of star ratings extends beyond app downloads. It actually affects people's perception of your brand. In a joint study we did with SurveyMonkey, we found that the star ratings impact brand perception as a whole, not just of the app, but of the entire brand. And we also found that over half of consumers who view the brand more negatively if the app has 1 or 2 stars. And as you might have guessed, they also have the opposite effect with higher star ratings. So over 70% of consumers have a better brand perception if your app has 4 or 5 stars. So why is this? Well, if your brand's mobile strategy is lacking, it's a red flag to customers that your customer experience is behind across all channels, not just in the app. So in mobile, relying on your brand name to carry you alone is not a strategy. Having a recognizable brand name will not counteract the damage done by poor ratings and reviews, and in fact, it might actually amplify the damage. So as I said earlier, star ratings have an impact on app downloads too. So check out this chart on your screen. Even jumping from a 2 to a 3-star app rating can increase conversion by 280%. It's massive. Okay, so how can you take advantage of iOS 11 and get those ratings up before the code freeze? First, focus on finding the right time and the right place to prompt your customers for a rating. If you're interrupting them with a rating prompt as they're trying to enter in their credit card information at checkout, that's obviously going to be a very frustrating experience, and they're less likely to rate you. And even if they do decide to rate you, they will probably not rate you too favorably. Also, you have to understand that customers are likely to be much more vocal now that Apple has made it easier for them to rate your app. So this can be a great thing if customers love your app, and a not so great thing if they don't love your app, or if they're running into bugs, especially during the code freeze. So just be aware of that. And this is also why the timing of the prompt matters. And finally, be very choosy with who you prompt. So don't forget that you only have a prompt 3 times per year. The last thing you want to do is prompt more customers who are unhappy with the app than customers who love the app. This is why it's super important to know who your fans are and then to mobilize them. So now I'm going to hand it off to James to talk about how to prep your app for the holiday season.
If you're a retailer like us, then you know it's almost time for the annual code freeze. But there's still time to improve your app to make the most of the peak season. Step 1 of this is creating a seamless customer experience. Providing a great customer experience is becoming a requirement for consumers, not a luxury. And it translates into dollars for retailers. Perhaps that's why 84% of customers aspire to be leaders in customer experience. The key word there being aspire, because the reality is much different. Only 1 in 5 companies deliver a good or great customer experience, according to Forrester Research. Those who aren't investing in creating omni-channel customer experiences are losing a lot of potential revenue by turning potential customers off. Forrester found that customers are willing to pay nearly 5 times as much for a great customer experience versus a poor experience. The real kicker? Customer experience innovators outpace companies with poor experiences by over 500%. At JCP, our philosophy regarding customer experience is pretty straightforward. We like to use the acronym KISS, which stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. We found that our customers prefer an experience that requires minimal work from them to find what they're looking for. Even if your app isn't a money-making machine, it can still be a revenue generator indirectly. As many of you might already know, customers use retail apps to browse your selection before deciding what to buy. This is actually a way for customers to save time because they can browse from the convenience of their homes or wherever they may be instead of spending time driving to the store, walking around, only to find that you don't have what they're looking for. The key here is to make it easy for customers to find what they want to buy in your app and easily pick it up in store. At JCP, we've included a pickup in store option so customers don't have to go searching for what they found online. They can search for the store closest to them who have the item they're looking for, buy it directly in the app, and pick it up the same day with no extra charge. Introducing this feature has enabled us to stay relevant in the omnichannel retail space, and we will continue to look for ways to leverage mobile to help drive customers to our stores. Another way to create customer experiences that get people excited to shop is through creative avenues that are new and exciting. At JCP, we started to include brand videos highlighting favorite products. If customers like what they see, then they can swipe up to add the product directly to their cart. Customers who are looking for a more interactive way to shop love this feature. This is just one way to build out a robust customer experience that gets customers excited to shop for the holidays. But to really create a customer experience that's top shelf, you have to understand what customers want from your app. And to do this, you must ask for customer feedback, which brings us to our next point. Marissa will tell you all about customer feedback.
Thanks, James. All right, let's talk customer feedback. So another way to think about customer feedback is that is the why behind the what. So with most data, you can see that something is happening. Maybe a certain region's sales are going up or down, but that data doesn't tell you why. Customers can tell you why, though. So you can find out why by proactively communicating. Proactively asking for feedback increases the percentage of customers who provide feedback from 1% to more than 25%. Proactive communication activates the customers who are usually in the silent majority. And those are the people that you really want to hear from because you never really know how they feel. So what do people expect when it comes to communication with companies? Well, in a joint survey we did with SurveyMonkey, we found that customers actually expect companies to reach out to them to ask them for feedback directly. So not only that, but almost all of them were willing to leave feedback if they could do so directly in the app, aka make it easy. So customers expect you to reach out proactively, and when you do, they reward you. So we found that it actually increases retention. People who are interacted with in-app are 4 times as likely to continue using the app 3 months later. And for retailers, this translates into real dollars. So here are a few examples of proactive communication in action. So these aren't examples from a retail app, but they definitely still apply. So to give you a sense of what you can do with a simple note, take a look at your screen. So you can apologize if there's a known bug and tell customers you're fixing it. You can tell them about a new feature that you want them to try that will make their shopping experience better. You can alert customers when it's the last day to buy to receive items by Christmas. You can let them know about special promotions or tell them about a wish list feature. The possibilities are really endless. And another way you can proactively communicate is with surveys. So for retailers in particular, you can use surveys to find out why customers are abandoning their shopping cart and ask them in the moment. You can tap into your mobile customer base instead of paying for expensive focus groups. So this will help you prioritize your product roadmap by surveying customers to learn what they want to see next. And you can also invite a specific segment of customers to beta test new features, then get real-time feedback on their experience with those features using surveys. So this method is really efficient because you're able to get thousands of responses in days instead of watching a few slowly roll in over weeks or months at a time. So here's a visual of the last point that I was trying to make. So usually the timeline of releasing a new feature, getting feedback on it, iterating, building out the feedback into the product, getting more feedback, and on and on and on until it's perfected is, let's say, about 6 months. But by gathering feedback using in-app surveys, you can cut that timeline in half. So the volume of feedback you're able to gather in such a short amount of time really increases your team's efficiency. You can also use in-app surveys to create your own focus group of people who you know are your customers. Instead of paying an expensive firm, recruiting people who might not even be your real customers, gathering feedback, and taking a gamble that by investing large sums of money and time based on the opinions of a small sample, who again might not even be your real customers, you can turn mobile customers into a focus group. So not to mention the issues that come along with focus groups like groupthink. So instead, use in-app surveys to gather feedback from a targeted segment of your customers. So get a sense of their interest in the new thing you're trying to test, then survey them at the right time, like immediately after they've tried the new feature that you're testing. And this way, you'll get feedback that is fresh in their minds because they've just experienced it. And it won't be unbiased. It won't be influenced by outside opinions like it would be in a focus group. And then you can actually close the feedback loop with these customers. So let them know that you appreciate their feedback, it's been heard, and that you're going to incorporate it into the next iteration of the feature. So turning mobile into a focus group saves time and money, and it's actually a lot more accurate than the old way of doing things. Plus, it's obviously fun for customers that they can say that they are a part of creating the next big thing. So proactive communication is obviously really important and useful, but don't forget about reactive feedback. So capturing reactive feedback is table stakes. Install a listening tool in your app and give customers a way to leave feedback without having to leave the app. It's really annoying when you're a customer and you're trying to let a company know about an issue that you're having and you have to go track down a phone number and then call them, or find an email and go out of the app and into your email and type up an email. It just is so much easier when you can just do it directly in the app, and I'm much more likely to leave feedback if there isn't that huge barrier. So having this listening tool in your app can help you quickly resolve problems for customers and help prevent them from heading to a competitor and tarnishing your brand in public. So an easy way to do this is by installing a listening tool that they can access at any time they want to send you a message directly. So they can alert you to a bug, they can ask questions if they're experiencing any issues, or provide any other feedback that they want to share with you. So James, you guys obviously did this at JCP. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with this?
Yes, Marissa, sure. So my team, we live by the mantra, always be listening. We found that our customers love to talk to us, and whether the feedback is positive or negative, they want a forum to communicate with us in real time. We sometimes get hundreds of comments a day from our customers. It's important to always be listening to make sure we understand what their needs and what their wants are, and then taking that information and helping it build out our roadmap and our backlog of things that we need to be doing in the app going forward.
Well, thank you. So here are some best practices for gathering customer feedback. So first, provide thoughtful, focused questions and answers. This is especially important on surveys. Nobody wants to take a 30-question survey on mobile, so make sure your surveys are optimized for mobile. Keep it short and concise. Next, make sure to ask for feedback at the right time and right place. So we've obviously talked about this a few times throughout the webinar. Don't interrupt your customers with a note or a survey or any other prompt when they're in the middle of a task in your app. They come to your app for a reason. Let them accomplish their task before you start interrupting them. This is particularly important when customers are trying to check out. So if you're interrupting their experience, you run the risk that they'll say, forget it, and abandon their shopping cart, which is the last thing you want. So always be respectful and mindful of what customers are trying to accomplish in your app. And last, always close the feedback loop. If customers take time out of their busy days to leave you feedback, make sure to at least say thank you and let them know that their voice was heard. This goes a really long way. And one note on closing the feedback loop, you can take it the extra mile by letting customers know when you've actually implemented their feedback. So our data shows that almost all customers will become more loyal if they know you've heard their feedback and actually took action. But the key here is letting them know that you did that, because otherwise they have no idea. All right, and now I'm going to hand it off to James to talk about reducing friction in the path to purchase.
Thanks, Marissa. In addition to creating an outstanding customer experience, it's crucial that retailers reduce friction in the path to purchase before peak season. Why? Let's dig in and find out. What's especially interesting is mobile purchases are on the rise. Wayfair has seen customers' willingness to purchase on mobile increase substantially. A Facebook IQ study found 45% of shopping trips include some mobile shopping. And Apptentive's data showed that 54% of people who use retail apps made a purchase in the last month. Reducing friction in the purchasing process will lead to more transactions. So how do we do this at JCP? Here we focused on two critical features. It may seem obvious, but having a hyper-functional search built into your app is the first steps towards removing friction in the purchasing process. Customers open retail apps with a purpose. They're looking for something specific, or they're just interested in browsing. A dismal search experience can lead to churn and a loss of revenue. If customers can't easily find what they came for, they're likely going to go looking elsewhere for it out of frustration. These days, it may seem like everyone has search figured out, but that's not quite the case. According to a study by Rich Relevance, 35% of shoppers say they're unsatisfied with search results on mobile. Even more telling is the fact that 38% of shoppers complain they receive worse search results when shopping on their mobile device than they do on their laptop or desktop. This is a relatively straightforward fix that's sort of a 2-for-1. It will not only reduce friction, it will also improve the customer experience. Whatever you do, don't underestimate the power of search. Streamlining the checkout process is a smart way to remove friction as well. Mobile wallets make checkout faster and easier for customers because they don't have to pull out their gift cards, loyalty cards, and coupons each time they want to buy something. Creating a mobile wallet for us at JCP was about helping our customers save those items that were most relevant to their purchasing decisions. In this new digital world, we found that customers didn't want to keep track of physical coupons and gift cards anymore. So we created an experience that enables them to save all of their coupons, rewards, and gift cards digitally in our app for easy use while shopping in store or within our app.
Awesome. Thank you, James. So before we share our takeaways, we want to hear from all of you. So hop on over to the chat box and let us know what questions you have for James and me. Okay, so if we've learned anything, it's that there are 3 goals retailers can strive for to make their app a hit with consumers. Reduce friction in the path to purchase, listen to customers by gathering proactive and reactive feedback, and create a seamless omni-channel customer experience. And all of this, of course, on top of taking advantage of iOS 11. So you can try to improve your app ratings before the code freeze and get more downloads. And it's important to note that none of this is possible if you don't listen to your customers. The success of your app is directly tied to how tuned in you are with your customers' wants and needs, and that's not possible if you're not listening. All right, thanks for hanging in there with us. We know that was a lot to cover. So now it's time to take your questions. Like I said, feel free to pop your questions in the chat box and we will be sure to answer them. So James, it looks like this first one is for you. It says, how often does JCPenney gather customer feedback? What cadence do you recommend?
It's a great question. So again, like our mantra here is to always be listening. So I've carved out time on my team's calendar, whether they want to do it or not, every morning and the evening before they leave as well too. They have to dedicate 30 minutes to just going into our different feedback tools, listening and reading our customers' feedback, as well as responding to the customers. And then they all work together to kind of aggregate the messages and group them into themes. And we meet on it twice a week just to make sure that, there's nothing glaring going on. We don't have any critical defects that need to be fixed. And if there are new feature requests that our customers are recommending to us, what do we think about those? And, what is it going to take to I recommend, digging into the feedback daily, but meeting at least once a week to kind of aggregate all of that information together to then go and make decisions on it.
Perfect. I love that. Dedication. So our next question says, how important is offline support for in-store experiences? James, I will let you take that one as well.
I think it's very important to have that there. I can give an example of that. So, one of the things that, we've always had in our app was the ability to give customers, access to their coupons. But one of the challenges we had is, some of our stores, have been around for a very long time, and it's almost like you're in a dungeon when you're in our stores and you don't have connectivity from your cell provider. So accessing the app at that time, can become difficult if you don't have a Wi-Fi connection or a cellular connection. So we decided to make certain areas of our app available when our customers are offline. So coupons, the wallet, things that you've stored in the app that are relevant to your purchase, we've made those available in our offline mode just so that our customers have access to this information and to that data wherever they are in the world.
That's super smart. I know how frustrating it is to be in a store and you have no service. You're just like, I just want to use my app.
Yes, it's terrible.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. So, James, this one is for you. It says JCPenney's app is ranked top 10 in the app stores. Can you tell us anything about what it took to get there?
Oh, blood, sweat, and tears. It took a lot of self-reflection. So when we first got into the app space around 3 or 4 years ago, we launched and we thought, we had done something really, really well, but, shortly thereafter, we found out that our customers weren't as excited and as happy about the products as maybe we were internally. So it took a lot of self-reflection, to just kind of, look in the mirror and say, okay, well, we aren't really doing a great job right now, but what can we do to get better? And we just didn't want to be another player in the space. We wanted to figure out how we can become, a leader in this mobile and this digital space. So It took the self-reflection, and it just took listening to our customers, soliciting their feedback, and really just ripping the apps apart and figuring out what was the best and the most optimal experience that we could deliver to our customers. So once we did that, we kind of put our business case together behind it, took it up to the leadership team, and got their buy-in, and started to move forward. And it's been a journey, but it's been a rewarding journey to kind of see the efforts pay off and to climb so high in both the App Store and Google Play this year.
Yeah, that it's easy just to create an app and throw it in the App Store. It's a whole other story when you're creating an app that customers actually love.
Absolutely.
All right, one more question. This is for you too, James. So it says, what is the best piece of advice you have for brands that are trying to connect their app experience to their in-store experience?
The best piece of advice I would have, just having gone through it and continuing to grow through that journey, is it goes back to feedback. But this time it's not just customer feedback. It's really the feedback of the associates that work in the stores as well too. They're the front line of the company. They deal with these customers every day. So if you just go and interview them, have conversation with them, the insight that you'll be able to gain from those conversations, you'll find that will help you, with your products much more than you ever thought they would have. So I would say interview your customers and interview your associates that shop in the stores and figure out, what problems that, they need help solving and how you can use technology and mobile and digital to help solve those problems. And I think from there, you start to build on top of that and figure out, okay, what's the most optimal, what's the best in class experience we can deliver here, but truly have a problem in mind that you're trying to solve for versus trying to go in and do everything at once.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's people focus so much on the customer and customer feedback and forget about the people who know their customers the most, which is people who are actually working in the stores and talking to them every day. So that's super smart. Okay, we actually have one more question. This one is also for you, James. It says, do you create a personalized experience through A/B testing? And if so, how do you close the feedback loop?
Yeah, so we do testing. We do a lot of testing here at JCP across all of our digital channels, just to kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work. We don't always want to just throw new things out there without testing it first. So we do our fair share of testing for all of our experiences, and I think that helps build out the case for personalization. Because personalization is really what is going to get people to continue to open up your digital and your mobile experiences. But you have to test and you have to learn as much about your customers as possible. So it's highly recommended, and it's something that we will continue to explore and try to get better here as a company.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And a huge thank you to James for sharing all of his knowledge with us. All right.
Thank you, guys.
That is it. Thanks.